This is Saltline Studio, a story by Mikey. The diner still clung to them like grease smoke on worn clothes. Sarah had scrubbed its residue from her maps, but not from her memory. The recorder had whispered Washington into the silence of the car before any of them had chosen the heading, and so they drove south through the dark with the quiet certainty that they were not choosing at all. Something on the other end of the line was pulling them closer. They reached Washington, D.C., just before midnight, rain painting the marble in dark streaks. Sarah found the alley 2 blocks off Massachusetts Avenue because the map said it shouldn't be there. And by now, the places that shouldn't exist were exactly the ones that mattered. Alan Roosevelt knew the stairs were wrong by step 32. By step 40, he stopped counting because counting made them feel longer. By step 50, the light from the street above had shrunk into a pale square no bigger than a postcard, and the station below still had not arrived. His lungs burned. His backpack thumped against his spine. The concrete walls on either side of the staircase narrowed just enough to feel rude, like the whole stairwell had leaned in to watch him panic. "Guys," Alan called, breathless. "Guys, I think..." His voice came back to him, not an echo, his own voice, from farther down the staircase. "Think we missed something." Alan froze. The words had been his. The tone had been his. But he hadn't said that sentence. He looked down. Darkness waited below the next landing. Then the next. Then the next after that. All of them stacked deeper than any subway entrance in Washington had a right to go. The handrail vanished into black. Alan's stomach turned to ice. Behind him, footsteps hammered down the stairs. Tony Francis appeared first, gripping the rail with one hand and carrying a flashlight in the other, like a man speedrunning a terrible decision. "We're in a video game level," Tony said, then stopped one step above Alan and looked down into the impossible length of the stairwell. "Nope, nope, no. This is DLC for people who hate themselves." Theo Sanchez came next, fast and sharp, rosary warm against his chest, before he even reached the landing. Sarah James was right behind him, one hand on the wall, the other clutching her folded transit map even though the map had already failed them by leading to a station that didn't officially exist. Jessica Martinez arrived last, breathing hard, holy water already in her hand. Theo took one look down the staircase and grabbed Tony's hoodie before Tony could take another step. "Back," Theo said. Tony blinked. "I wasn't going forward. You were leaning. That is not the same as commitment." Theo dragged him back anyway. The 5 of them crowded onto the landing, shoulder to shoulder, staring down into the dark. The station entrance had appeared where Sarah's map said there should only be a service alley, beside a shuttered pharmacy 2 blocks off Massachusetts Avenue. No sign. No station marker. No metro glow. Just a concrete stairwell cut into the side of the alley wall like it had been waiting behind a layer of ordinary city grime for the right people to notice it. At street level, Washington was all midnight rain and marble government silence. Down here, the air felt underwater. Jessica pressed 2 fingers to her ear and winced. "Pressure." Sarah nodded tightly. "Same. It's like being in a plane that forgot to land." Theo looked at the rail. There it was. The twisted compass symbol had been etched into the metal where hundreds of hands might once have passed, polished by use, the lines smooth and deliberate. Not scratched by vandals, carved by design. His palm burned in answer. "Compass mark," Theo said quietly. Tony made a face. "Amazing. Love. Continuity." Alan swallowed. This wasn't here 5 minutes ago. Sarah looked back toward the alley above them. The opening still showed wet brick, the bent outline of a fire escape, the shine of streetlight on puddles. Normal city, normal world. One turn of the head and the stairwell felt almost explainable. Then she looked down again, and reality broke its ankle. Locals online were calling it a ghost station, Sarah said. Random posts, deleted threads, one forum with 3 people arguing about whether it showed up once a month or only after midnight. Tony pointed downward. Well, congratulations to all involved. We found the stupid monthly prize. Alan's recorder clicked on in his hand. Red light blinking. He held it toward the stairwell. The waveform jumped at once. Not a hum like the bridge. Not layered chatter like the diner. A deep, pulsing vibration. 2 fast. 1 slow. Just like the lights in every site they had touched since New York. Alan looked sick. It's already active. Theo stepped forward 1 pace. The dark shifted. That was the only way to describe it. Not movement, not shape, just the feeling that the darkness below had adjusted itself when he moved, like something at the bottom of the stairs had straightened in its chair. Theo's rosary went from warm to hot. He stopped. No one goes farther down, Theo said. Not yet. Tony nodded instantly. A brilliant policy. A policy of wisdom. A policy I support spiritually, emotionally, and as a man with knees. Jessica crouched by the threshold of the landing and uncapped the salt container from Tony's bag. We mark the line here. First, Sarah looked up sharply. At the top? No, Jessica said. At the place where the stairs start lying. She poured a clean stripe of salt across the width of the landing. White grains against dirty concrete. The line looked thin, fragile, almost silly in the face of a staircase, trying to continue into geological time. But the second the last grains hit the ground, the air changed. A low hiss rolled up from below. Not pain, not rage, recognition. Tony took one involuntary step back. It noticed. Theo's third eye pulsed behind his forehead, sharp and miserable. He could feel the site reacting to boundaries the same way the bridge had reacted to broken spirals. The diner to salt at the threshold. The staircase wasn't the whole trap. It was just the mouth. The line matters, Theo said. That means the threshold matters. The thing below still has rules. Jessica rose slowly. Good. Then we use them. Alan kept staring at the recorder screen. There's another sound under the pulse. Sarah leaned in. What kind? Alan replayed the capture. At first, it was only the deep station throb, like subway brakes far underground. Then, a second sound surfaced beneath it. A train announcement. Tinny, calm, distorted by age and water and distance. Now arriving, the rest dissolved into static. Then another fragment. All passengers. Then static again. Tony stared at the stairwell. Please tell me we are not dealing with a haunted commute? Theo didn't answer. His mind was already working through the rules. Stairs, too long. Threshold, responsive to salt. Transit language. A station that appears where no station should be. A site built around movement, passage, transition. A shortcut. That word hit him, just as the voice came from below. Warm, polite, human enough to be dangerous. One ride, it said, and the words floated up the stairwell like steam. And you can skip your pain. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Theo felt every muscle in his back tighten. Tony whispered, "That is not public transport." Jessica's face hardened. "Don't answer." The voice came again, patient as a help desk. "Delayed passengers may proceed," then silence. Sarah's grip tightened on her flashlight. "It's inviting us in." Theo looked down the staircase again. This time, he noticed the walls. Posters. There had not been posters a minute ago. Faded rectangles had appeared along the concrete sides. Old transit ads curled at the corners. Their colors bled down to sickly pastels. A smiling family on one. A beach scene on another. A college ad promising a faster future. A holiday airline poster with a blue sky so bright it hurt to look at in this underground dark. Every single one had the same slogan printed at the bottom in cheerful block letters. "Skip the wait." Tony saw it too and made a face like he'd bitten tinfoil. "I hate marketing demons. It feels tacky." Jessica looked at him. "Not demons. This place," Tony swallowed. "Right. Sorry. Evil infrastructure." Sarah pulled out the folded city map again, more from habit than hope, and checked the alley position. "No transit line under us," Sarah said. "Not even an abandoned one. The nearest real station is 6 blocks away." Alan's voice shook. "Then, where does it go?" Theo stared into the dark. "That's the wrong question." Sarah looked at him. "What's the right question?" Theo's palm burned. "What does it want us to leave behind when we write it?" That landed. Silence again. Rain whispered faintly from the alley above. Far away now. Almost fictional. Jessica lifted the holy water. "We test the threshold. Not the stairs." Theo nodded. "Only from the line." Tony immediately handed her the bottle with the solemnity of a man surrendering a sacred relic, and absolutely not hiding behind it. Jessica flicked a line of holy water downward, just beyond the salt. The drops never hit the next step. They hung in the air for half a second, suspended like glass beads on invisible thread. Then the stairwell flickered. The darkness tore open. Not fully. Not long. A flash. One impossible frame shoved into the world, like a photograph forced under a locked door. Below the next landing, the concrete steps were gone. Tracks. Cracked tiles. Rusted rails. Bones under broken cement. Human bones. Half visible where the floor had split. Old. Gray. Packed into the shape of a station platform that had been buried and paved over and taught to keep functioning anyway. Then the stairwell snapped back. Concrete steps. Metal rail. Posters. Jessica recoiled, breath catching. There are bones under it. Alan's recorder shrieked once and nearly slipped from his hand. Sarah's face went pale in the flashlight glow. That wasn't decay. That was construction. Theo nodded slowly. Built over something. Or someone. Tony made a small, offended sound. You cannot build a ghost station on a skeleton base and then act like the city has zoning. The voice from below returned. Still calm. Delays can be avoided. This time, it used Sarah's voice. Exact tone. Exact clipped competence. The version of Sarah that emerged when she had already decided what needed doing and wanted everyone else to keep up. Move faster, the voice said in Sarah's voice. We're losing time. Sarah went still as stone. Jessica's gift flared at once. She stepped in front of Sarah before instinct could do something stupid. "That is not you," Jessica said. "Don't even listen to the shape of it." Sarah's jaw tightened. "I know, but Theo saw it." That half-second catch, that human reflex when a familiar tone comes from the wrong place. The station was learning fast. Alan stared at the recorder. The pulse is changing every time we react. He replayed it. The too fast, one slow rhythm had sped up slightly. "It's calibrating," Alan said. "Every response we give it becomes data." Tony looked down the stairs. "Then can we please stop being informative?" Theo exhaled. "We're leaving." No one argued. It should have been simple. Turn around. Go back up. Walk into the alley. Get in the car. Pray. Regret everything. Standard operating procedure. But the moment Sarah reached for the stairwell opening to climb back to street level, the square of night above them flickered. The alley was gone. In its place, tiled ceiling, fluorescent lights, a sign reading northbound. The top of the stairs now opened not onto Rain and Brick and Washington midnight, but into another platform somewhere above them, humming with dead electric light. Sarah pulled her hand back, like the air had burned her. "No," she said. Tony craned his neck upward. "Nope, absolutely not. That is an illegal amount of architecture." They were boxed in. Stairs going too far down. Stairs going somewhere else up. The landing had become the whole world. Theo's third eye hammered in his skull, threads and patterns everywhere now. The sight fully awake around them. The landing was a junction point. That was why the salt mattered here. That was why the threshold had answered. They weren't standing at the entrance. They were standing at the choice. And the site wanted one. Jessica saw Theo's face change. "What?" He looked from the salt line to the upper stairs to the lower dark. "It doesn't want movement," Theo said. "Not really. It wants consent disguised as motion." Sarah's brow furrowed. "Meaning?" "It wants us to choose a direction. Up or down. Departure or arrival. Either way, we're accepting the station as real." Tony stared at him. "That is the most annoying thing I've ever heard. And we have been chased by a faceless waitress." The voice below spoke again. "No need to struggle." This time, it used Tony's voice. Bright, fast, half joking. "Come on, guys. Maybe one little cursed train ride builds character?" Tony's face went blank with disgust. "That is slander. I would never say builds character unless I was dying." Jessica's mouth twitched despite herself. Tiny, gone, quickly, but it was there. The station felt that too. The pulse quickened. Alan's recorder screen glitched. Static streaks crawled across it. Then words appeared, broken and flickering like someone typing through water. Node O. Aero 5. Transit offer. Acceptance. Pending. Alan swallowed hard. "It thinks we're considering it." "We are not," Sarah said. But the screen changed again. Subject honesty. Variable. Tony blinked. Rude. The air pressure dropped. Everyone's ears popped at once. Then the landing lights came on. There had been no lights before beyond the city spill from above and their flashlights. Now fluorescent tubes buzzed overhead, pale and sickly. turning the landing into the kind of institutional brightness that makes every face look more tired than it is. On the wall beside the lower stairs, a route map illuminated behind scratched plexiglass. No metro lines. No red, blue, orange, silver. Just one line. A black line running downward through 5 stops, marked by symbols instead of names. A grave, a mirror, a bridge, a diner, and the 5th, stop blinking at the bottom, a staircase. Tony took one long breath. It made itself a souvenir map. Theo stepped toward it before he could stop himself. The black line continued beyond the staircase symbol. Farther down. One final destination marked only by a circle and the faint outline of a city skyline. London. Theo's blood went cold. Jessica saw it too. No. Sarah came close, flashlight shaking slightly in her grip. That's not possible. Alan stared. It's not just a route through America. Theo's jaw clenched. It's building a line, a coast-to-coast system, site to site, threshold to threshold, a network of pledged ground and stolen entry points. And somehow, impossibly, whatever it was building did not end here. It crossed oceans. Jessica's voice dropped. This is bigger than the road trip. Theo almost laughed at that, because of course it was bigger than the road trip. The road trip had stopped being a road trip the moment a grave in New York had spoken his name like an address. The route map hummed. Then the stations lit one by one. Grave, mirror, bridge, diner, staircase. Each glowed briefly, then dimmed as the black line pulsed between them like blood in a vein. The final circle, London, stayed dark, waiting. Tony made the sign of the cross so fast, he nearly punched himself in the chin. I hate foreshadowing. Jessica touched the St. Benedict medal around Theo's neck. This is why it marked you. Theo looked at her. What? It's not just watching resistance. It's tracing movement. It wants a line it can follow. The thought landed like a dropped stone. Heavy, ugly, plausible. Alan looked down at the recorder. The station pulse just synced with Theo's heartbeat. Everyone went still. Theo's face hardened. No. Alan turned the screen so they could see the waveform. The deep transit throb and Theo's pulse line, picked up from the microphone being too close, were moving together. Tony whispered, "That is extremely not allowed." Theo backed away from the route map. The sync weakened. Jessica grabbed his wrist and pulled him behind the salt line again. Then, we keep you out of its center. The lower stairwell answered immediately. A train horn blew from somewhere impossibly deep. Not metro. Not modern. Older. Bigger. The long, mournful horn. Something built when stations were cathedrals and timetables were treated like scripture. Wind rushed up from below. Warm this time. Not grave cold. Not cave air. Warm and human. And scented. Coffee. Laundry soap. Summer pavement. After rain. Chapel. Incense. Cheap cologne. Hospital hand gel. The exact collage of ordinary comfort each of them would recognize without needing to think about why. The station had stopped threatening. Now it was seducing. Tony's face changed first. Not by much. A softness around the eyes. A distant look. The kind of look people get when they hear their house key in a front door after a long shift and realize they are too tired to be clever anymore. Jessica noticed and snapped. Tony? He blinked. Hard. Sorry. For a second, I thought I smelled my aunt's kitchen. Sarah stared into the lower dark. I can hear a car engine. Theo looked at her sharply. She shook her head, like she hated herself for saying it. Not ours? My dad's old car. The one before he sold it. Alan's lips parted. He was listening to something none of them could hear. My room. Alan whispered. It sounds like my fan. At home? Theo felt it too then. Not a sound. A possibility. The station didn't just offer shortcuts through distance. It offered shortcuts through ache. Past the waiting. Past the grief. Past the long dumb human business of enduring. One ride, and you can skip your pain. The line wasn't just bait. It was a theology of impatience. Jessica stepped forward until she stood almost on the salt. Listen to me, she said, voice strong now, the kind that came from somewhere older than teenage fear. Anything that tells you to skip the hard part is lying. Anything that offers comfort without truth is stealing. You do not get healing by cheating your way around it. The lower stairwell went silent. Then it answered in her grandmother's voice. Perfect. Warm. Firm. Familiar in a way that hit Jessica like a slap. Mija. The station said gently, You've done enough. Jessica physically recoiled. Not because she believed it, because the voice was right. Not the source. The source was filth, a thief, a machine wearing someone holy, like borrowed clothes. But the sentence itself, you've done enough, found the exhaustion under Jessica's courage and pressed there like a thumb on a bruise. Theo saw the hit land. Jessica saw him see it and straightened at once, angry now that it had gotten close. That is not my grandmother, she said through clenched teeth, and she would never tell me to trust a staircase. Tony pointed weakly downward. Strong sentence. Very usable. Sarah's flashlight beam drifted to the upper stairs. Someone was standing there, at the top, half visible, beyond the fluorescent wash. A tall silhouette, still, watching from the false platform that had replaced the alley. One hand held something reflective at chest height. Clipboard, tablet, mirror, whatever it was, it caught the light without giving any back. The surveyor, not appearing, observing. The figure did not wave, did not move. It simply looked down at the landing where they stood, boxed between two impossible choices, like a scientist checking a lab animal's response to a maze. Alan's recorder screamed with static. Then text scrolled again across the broken display. Isolation option available. Sarah's face went pale. It wants one of us to go up, and one to go down. Theo stared at the figure. It wants to see who we sacrifice. First, Jessica gripped the holy water bottle harder. Then it gets no one. The train horn sounded again, closer. And now from below, they could see it. Light, not headlamps, not the clean white of a modern train. A long yellowed glow moving through darkness, far beneath the last visible landing, like an old carriage lit from the inside by tired bulbs and bad decisions. The platform below, whatever impossible platform existed beyond the staircase, was coming alive. A train was arriving. The voice returned, calm as ever. Express service, it said. No stops, no grief, no delay. The warm air rose stronger now, carrying the scent of home, of memory, of relief. The whole landing seemed to lean downhill. Tony actually took a step, Small, half a shoe length. But Jessica caught his arm instantly. He blinked and looked horrified. I did not approve that. No, Theo said. You didn't. The train light climbed, a slow gold pulse underneath the dark. Whatever came next, the landing was done pretending, and the station, patient as death and friendlier than it had any right to be, was opening its doors. Below the last visible landing, the platform finally showed itself. Old, tiled walls emerged in slices. A faded platform sign. A bench. A section of track. And at the center of it, impossible under the city, sat the train. Its windows glowed soft amber. Its doors were open. No operator. No conductor. No passengers. Just the warm look of a place that promised rest to exhausted people and had rehearsed that promise until it sounded kind. Sarah looked down at the platform, then back at her map. This is impossible, she said. There is no lower station on this line. Theo's eyes moved over the tiled columns. Compass, marks, not one, not two, every pillar, etched low, where hands could touch them while people waited, polished by repetition. Alan stared into the station below. This is a hub, he whispered, bigger than the diner, bigger than the bridge. Then he went rigid. The others saw it too. On the opposite platform wall, where an old route map should have been, a glossy black panel had been mounted. No frame, no cracks, just a smooth reflective surface shaped like a transit display. Alan's own face looked back from it, except it wasn't copying him. It was already looking at him, smiling first. Alan stumbled backward into Theo, breath scraping out of him. No. His reflection in the black panel raised one hand and beckoned. Then, in Alan's exact voice, said, I found the way out. Come down. The darkness below them stirred again, not around the train, beneath the platform itself. Theo's third eye flashed with one brutal crystalline impression. Cracked tiles, hollow concrete, old bones trapped under poured cement like the station had been built over something unfinished, and called that progress. Jessica felt it too. Her whole body recoiled before her mind caught up. There's death under the platform, she said. Not one. Many. Sarah's face changed. Planner mode. Assessment mode. The part of her that hated chaos enough to build maps for the apocalypse. Then the station's built on a burial seam, Sarah said. Not a graveyard. A covered one. Sealed into infrastructure? Theo nodded slowly. That's why it offers shortcuts. It's a pledged crossing point. Movement, passage, trade. You give it something, and it moves you past suffering. Tony swallowed. Or says it does. Exactly. The speaker came alive again. Now with the patient tone of an annoyed but professional transit worker dealing with difficult passengers. Delay is unnecessary. Relief is available. Please approach the platform. Then, in Theo's mother's voice, Mijo. You've done enough. Theo's jaw locked so hard it hurt. Then, in Sarah's voice, you can rest now. I'll handle it, Sarah muttered. Rude. Then, in Jessica's grandmother's voice, come down, Nina. It's all right. Jessica's face drained white, but her eyes went furious instead of frightened. Then, in Alan's own voice again, if you don't move now, one of them dies. Alan made a strangled sound. That one landed. The station felt it land. The train lights brightened a fraction, like a creature lifting its head at the smell of blood in the water. Theo grabbed Alan's shoulder. "Look at me," Theo said. Alan's eyes were fixed on the panel below. Theo tightened his grip. Alan turned. Theo kept his own voice level, not soft, not sharp, anchored. "It is using your fear because your fear is real. That doesn't make its answer true." Alan swallowed hard. "What if it isn't? You don't know that?" Theo's chest tightened. Because there it was, the real poison of the place, not the supernatural trick. The uncertainty it draped around real love. The little wedge that asks, what if refusing the lie costs someone you care about? Jessica knelt on the stair directly in front of Alan, so he had to look down to avoid her. "Then hear this from me," she said. "Love that demands panic is not love. Help that demands surrender is not help. God does not bargain through a ghost train." The station lights flickered harder. The black panel cracked at one corner. Alan's copied face glitched. Just for a breath. Enough. Tony pulled out the second bottle of holy water. "You want me to baptize public transport?" he asked. Voice thin. Theo almost smiled. "Yes." Sarah lifted the flashlight and scanned the lower station with hard, practical focus. "We need a target. One anchor. Not all of it. The thing offering relief has to have a mouth." "The train doors," Alan said suddenly. Everyone looked at him. He was pale, but his eyes had sharpened. Not the train itself. The doors. They're the invitation point. Every time the voice speaks, the lights pulse around the doors first. It's where consent happens. Theo checked with his third eye, and there it was, a thick knot of intention at the open train doors. Threads from the pillars, the black panel, the speakers, the track bed, all feeding that threshold like cables converging at one terminal. "That's it," Theo said. "We don't go to it. We hit it from here." Tony lifted the bottle, then frowned. "From here? That's a decent throw, and I was not built for baseball." Sarah already had the answer. She pulled a metal water flask from her bag, emptied it in one furious shake, took Tony's duct tape, and wrapped the holy water bottle tight against the flask. "Aerodynamics," Sarah said. Tony stared at her. "You terrifying. Genius." The station intercom clicked again, impatience creeping into the tone. Delay increases. Cost. Then the train made a sound. Not engine noise. A soft, eager chime. Boarding. Ready. Jessica rose. Holy water in one hand, rosary in the other. "No more talking to it," she said. "We tell the truth. And then we break the door." She began to pray out loud, not in a rush, not desperately, steady, the St. Michael prayer, each word placed like a footstep on solid ground. Theo joined her on the second line, then Sarah, awkward for only half a second before her voice found its place. Alan came in on the third line, shaking but audible. Tony on the fourth, rough and uneven and completely sincere. 5 voices in a stairwell that wanted surrender. The station reacted instantly. The lights on the platform buzzed. The black panel rippled. The train's amber glow darkened at the edges, as if the prayer was smoke entering its circuitry. Then the station did what it always did. It copied. The speaker took Jessica's cadence, Theo's firmness, Sarah's clipped precision, Alan's tremor, Tony's rough breath between phrases, and sent the prayer back at them, corrupted. "Saint Michael," the train whispered from every speaker, every pillar, every tile seam, "stand aside." Tony's face twisted. Nope. He hurled the improvised holy water weight with all the force in his body. For one horrifying second, it looked short. Then it hit the edge of the platform, bounced once, clipped the open train door, and shattered. Holy water exploded across the threshold. The station screamed, not with one sound, with several. Train brakes shrieking, speakers blowing, concrete groaning. The black panel burst into cracks that raced like lightning through glass. The open train doors slammed halfway shut, juddered, and froze. The amber lights inside the carriage strobed, and the illusion tore. For a single flashing instant, the polished lower station vanished. Under it, cracked tiles, concrete split like old teeth, bones under the platform lip. A child's shoe half buried in poured fill, rusted rail twisted through empty dark. And beneath the tracks, deeper still, a hollow full of pledge tokens, metal and bone, and little human keepsakes thrown into a place that promised to carry pain away and only archived it. Then the station snapped back, then tore again, then flickered between lies and truth so fast it became impossible to tell which version was supposed to be the real one. Jessica hurled her own holy water straight at the black panel. The glass blackened, then burst inward with a sound like a mirror choking. Alan's reflected double vanished mid-smile. Sarah grabbed Tony's arm before he could cheer and accidentally step over the salt line. "No hero moments," she hissed. "Wasn't planning a hero moment," Tony said. "Was planning a deeply personal victory dance." The stairs shuddered, then began to move. Not mechanically, spatially. The long, impossible descent compressed. The flights below them, folding upward, shrinking, drawing in like a telescope collapsing. The lower station dropped farther away, even as the stairs themselves shortened, as if reality had decided it no longer wanted to keep lying this hard. Theo felt the whole place recoil. "We hurt the offer," he said. "It's losing the shape." The speaker crackled one last time. "Gone," was the warm transit voice. Gone was the false kindness. What came through now was deeper, colder, closer to whatever had spoken from under the diner floor. "Sight rejected," it said. The train lights blew out. The platform dissolved into darkness. The final phrase came like a clerk stamping a document. "Mark remains." Then everything went black. Not haunted black. Power cut black. Real and sudden and clean. For half a second, nobody moved. Then the upper city lights reappeared above them. Larger now. Closer. The stairwell abruptly ordinary again. 20 steps. 20 very normal steps. The impossible descent was gone. Just an old service staircase leading to a chained gate and a concrete wall where no station should be. Sarah stared. Theo counted silently. 1, 2, 3, 20. That was all. The line of salt behind them lay still and ordinary, grains unmoving. Tony let out a long breath that sounded like his soul trying to leave through his mouth. "I would like," he said weakly, "to formally complain to the city." Jessica crossed herself. Alan lifted his recorder with trembling hands. "It got the last line on tape," he said. "Play it outside." Sarah snapped immediately. "Not Here, no one argued. They backed up the stairs together, shoes scraping concrete, shoulders brushing because nobody wanted an inch of empty space between them and the thing below. Theo went last, rosary in one hand, eyes on the chained gate beneath. The darkness under the steps didn't move, but he knew better than to trust stillness. At the top, they burst out into cool Washington night air, so fast it felt like surfacing from underwater. Cars passed 2 streets over. A siren wailed somewhere far off. A bus stop ad flickered. Ordinary city noise crashed over them like grace. Tony bent double, hands on knees. "I love pollution," he wheezed. "I love traffic. I love taxes. I love everything about normal life." Jessica laughed once, short, shaky, real. Sarah turned in a full circle, flashlight still in hand, making sure the station entrance behind them remained exactly what it should be, a sealed maintenance access stair behind a rusted service gate. No open platform, no warm train glow, no endless descent. Just concrete, chain, and an old municipal warning sign. Alan hit play on the recorder. Static. Breathing. Then the station voice. Perfectly clear. Sight rejected. Mark remains. Silence. Then, faintly beneath it, a second sound. Scratching. Like pen on paper. Theo's stomach dropped. The surveyor, still taking notes. Alan stopped the playback so fast, he nearly dropped the device. "Nope," Tony said. "No." Hard pass on haunted admin. Sarah leaned against a lamppost and pulled out her folded map with hands that were steadier than her face. "Okay," she said, because Sarah always needed a next step to keep fear from becoming the main event. Review. The site offered relief, Theo said. Not power, not fear. Relief. That's worse, because tired people say yes to relief. Jessica nodded, and it built the offer around real pain, not random temptation. Specific things. Tony wiped his face roughly with his sleeve. "It really liked me. Tonight." Jessica looked at him. "You still said no." Tony gave a tiny shrug that wasn't casual at all. "Yeah, barely. But yeah." Alan stared at the sealed gate. The lower platform wasn't the original lie. He said slowly, "The train was." The station underneath was built over something already dead. The city covered it. The network used the cover. Theo followed that thought. It fit. An unmarked burial seam under public transit, he said. A place built for passage, sitting on top of unresolved death. That's almost perfect for this thing. Sarah folded the map back up. Then Washington didn't create the haunting. It gave it infrastructure. Jessica looked down at her holy water bottle. Almost empty now. "We keep doing this," she said quietly, "and we keep proving the same thing. The place matters. The promise matters. And every node is a version of the same lie." Theo looked at her. She met his eyes and said it clearly. "You can skip pain." He nodded. And every time Jessica continued, "That turns out to mean, give us something human, and we'll erase part of you in exchange." Tony straightened up, slowly. "That's a very bad subscription service." This time, Sarah did laugh, though it came out tired and cracked. Theo looked at the chain on the service gate, at the locked, dark below, at his own palm. For 1 second, he thought it was clean. Then the streetlight shifted. A faint shape sat just beneath the skin again. Not bright, not active, but there. The twisted compass. So faint, It might have been imagination. Mark remains. He closed his hand. Jessica saw. Her face changed instantly. Theo? He opened his palm, just enough for the others to see. Sarah swore under her breath. Tony stared. That is profoundly rude. Alan's voice was barely audible. It said it would remain. Theo flexed his fingers. The mark did not brighten. It did not spread. It just existed, like an address lightly penciled on an envelope that hadn't been mailed yet. Then we treat it like what it is, Theo said. Not ownership, not permission, just a problem. Tony frowned. Very inspiring, deeply concerning. But inspiring, Sarah shoved the map back into her pocket. We need consecrated ground again. Jessica nodded immediately. Church. Alan looked at the recorder. And we need to copy this file somewhere safe. Off the device. If it can write into the audio, I don't want it to be the only copy. They started walking toward the car, parked 3 blocks up near a row of government offices already dark for the night. The city around them looked normal. Too normal. White stone buildings, traffic lights, crosswalk paint, a couple arguing softly near a takeaway place, a cyclist swearing at a taxi. Somewhere, someone laughing at a joke they'd already forgotten by the next block. And threaded invisibly under all of it, lines, systems, roots, buried things, forgotten things, pledged things, doors pretending to be infrastructure. Theo hated how much sense it made. Halfway to the car, Tony slowed. Do you think, he said carefully, that if somebody had said yes down there, the train would have actually moved? Nobody answered right away, because the truth was ugly. Probably, Jessica finally said. Yes, but not where they thought. Tony nodded once. Cool. Hate that. Sarah unlocked the car. Alan climbed in first, already protecting the recorder like it contained plutonium and family secrets. Jessica paused by Theo before getting into the passenger seat. She didn't make a speech. Didn't tell him not to worry. Didn't offer one of those fake comfort lines people use when they want fear to be tidier than it is. She just touched 2 fingers lightly to the hand he'd closed over the mark. It stayed, she said. So we stayed too? Then she got in. Theo stood there for 1 extra second in the city air, listening to ordinary life scrape and mutter around him. No hum, no speaker, no invitation, just the faintest lingering sensation that somewhere under the pavement, something had crossed his name off one list and added it to another. He got into the car. Sarah started the engine. It caught on the first turn. No flicker. No hesitation. Ordinary. Tony leaned his head back against the seat and closed his eyes. Please tell me the next date has, like, a regular haunting, he said. Something simple. A ghost cow. A cursed mailbox. A suspicious lamp. I'm begging for lower stakes. Alan looked down at the recorder screen. Static. Pulsed. Once. Then, across the waveform in broken, stuttering text, a partial file label crawled into existence before freezing. Node 05. Status. Rejected. Mark. Active. Next. The rest glitched out. Sarah saw it in the rearview mirror. No, she said flatly. Absolutely not. Nobody reads the rest while we're still in DC. Tony opened one eye. Counterpoint. I want to know which fresh nightmare has booked our table. Jessica twisted in her seat. Church? first that settled it. Sarah pulled away from the curb. The sealed station entrance disappeared behind them, swallowed by parked cars, scaffolding, and federal stone. A hidden place under a capital city, a ghost platform offering express relief to the tired and the guilty and the desperate. Rejected, but not erased. Theo pressed his marked palm against the cold window glass. Outside, Washington slid by in streaks of sodium light and marble. Inside, the car held 5 people who were tired enough to want shortcuts and stubborn enough to keep refusing them. That mattered. It had to. Because somewhere beneath the city, in a sealed station that wasn't there until it wanted to be, the dark had folded itself back into waiting shape. The train sat, without lights now. Its doors were shut. On the platform, where the black reflective panel had shattered, a line of pale dust marked where the surveyor's image had stood. No face, no features, only the faint impression of someone who had watched, learned, recalculated. And on one tiled pillar nearest the dead tracks, freshly scratched into the grime with something that had no need of fingernails, the compass symbol gleamed beside a single handwritten note. Mark. Remains. Some doors close. Some just pretend to. You've been listening to Salt and Lanterns from Saltline Studio. Stay together. Keep the light on.